Let's talk about that, because again, when we're talking about marginalized people, when we're talking about trans pronouns, when we're talking about cis pronouns, when we're talking about words and language, it's very bubbled. So I never want you to feel like you're not being seen or we're not having clear communication. If you have questions, ask me. And also, it's interesting when we think about language as a linear concept, because it isn't one. So this video is going viral on TikTok, and I definitely want to use it as a jumping off point to have a larger conversation about communication. So let's watch it, and then I'll give my opinions.
The R word is permanently coming back, and it's functionally changed meanings to no longer directly refer to disabled people. I mean, if you think about the words idiot, imbecile, and moron, those used to be genuine medical classifications from the 1910s until the 1960s when they started to feel offensive. Then doctors switched to the R word, which also functioned as a real medical classification for about 50 years until it became too insulting, and we again had to replace it because it simply didn't serve the same scientific purpose anymore. This entire cycle is called the euphemism treadmill, and the idea is that words around sensitive topics will always grow more negative over time, making us come up with new words that will then also get negative. On the flip side, however, once we sufficiently distance a word from its historical usage, it stops taking on the same offensive power and just becomes colloquial instead. Like, very few people really use the words idiot or imbecile to overtly mock an intellectual disability anymore, and in the same way, the R word is slowly just shifting into something people say with their friends. That doesn't mean it's a good thing or that you should say the word. In fact, I think it's counterproductive to even call people idiots and morons. However, it is undeniably true that the people who are afraid to say the R word right now are going to get old and die out, while younger generations keep saying it with no knowledge of where it came from. The real problem is why the euphemism treadmill exists in the first place, because unless we communicate with kindness and intentionality, we'll always keep making new words offensive. I think we have to
So if you guys don't know his work, he does etymology, and he talks about weight language and words, and he's been, I don't watch his content that much, but he, Taylor Lorenz and other people have talked to him before. Now, there have been a lot of responses to this. I just want to say, as somebody who stopped saying the R word at the urging of my audience, and after doing some contemplation and meditation, I have also stopped doing it. And I don't use it on stream, and I ban it from my chat and stuff like that. I will say, though, it never stopped. People in my life never stopped using it. YouTubers I watch never stopped using it. Nobody stopped using it except for a few more progressive left-leaning people. And I'm surrounded by generally not those people because we don't live in that world. Like, I still think leftists forget how minority they are because they're so privileged to have friends who are leftist and to live in bubbles where there's a bunch of left people. But most of the people I'm around still say the word. They never stopped, especially if they're guys. And so, yeah, like, even if you're a liberal, you're probably going to say it. That's why you have like Kyle Kalinske using slurs at minorities, because it never left their vocabulary. So it's interesting to me. He uses the R word as well. He called Trump an R word. So just to be clear, it never left. So it's interesting to me when people are like, oh, it's coming back. To who? Not leftists who decided not to use it anymore. So I kind of disagree with the idea that it's coming back, because one, it never left. And two, I do not think it is completely, I disagree with his premise that people don't know the original connection of the word. I don't think we're done with that form of ableism yet. Like, I don't believe that at fucking all, because when people use it, they go, oh, are you fucking R word, bro? Like, it's perfectly in sync with ableism still. So, you know what I mean? Like, I say stupid sometimes. I'm like, how are you so stupid, bro? And then stupid, though, I think is pretty disconnected from R word, because R word replaced. So I don't agree with his premise. I think it's wrong. But okay, let me give other people a chance to share their opinions as well, because I thought it was interesting.
You can't reclaim the R word, and we shouldn't normalize it coming back. Despite what some popular creators have been saying, the R word is still a slur, which is why you're still using the R word. If it wasn't a slur, you would comfortably say the full word yourself. So let's talk about it. The idea that the R word has become distant enough from its original meaning to be classified as a new adjective is actually absurd. For those who don't know, the R word was a not-so-great medical label used to describe disabled people with intellectual disabilities. It was used to dehumanize them and to justify putting them into institutions where we wouldn't have to see them. But the thing is, we're still referencing that original meaning when we use it now. When people say that someone or something is the R word, they are saying that it is stupid, that it is idiotic enough that someone with a disability might do that. That's how the insult works. And I hate to break it to you, but insulting someone's intelligence, and even inadvertently comparing them to disabled people to do that, will always be rooted in ableism. And they'll say, but that's not what I mean. I only use that on non-disabled people. I would never use it on them. Just because you don't use it on disabled people, which mind you, you don't know for sure because they exist everywhere, doesn't mean that context is suddenly gone when the insult has always been the same, especially when disabled people are still being institutionalized and affected by this harmful rhetoric today. Secondly, you can't reclaim a slur as someone not part of the group affected by it. Just like non-gay people can't take back the F slur, non-disabled people, and arguably anyone without an intellectual disability could not reclaim the R word. You also aren't reclaiming a slur when you use it in the same negative context. Reclaiming requires turning that meaning around into a positive affirmation for said group. We've seen this happen with crip, the F word, and other slurs where they become a positive self-identifier for folks in that group. I've never heard someone positively call themselves the R word, and that's because it's still being used as an insult. That being said, whenever I make videos like this, I always get self-righteous commenters saying, well, you can't tell me what I can and can't say. I can't. That's true, and I fear that is common sense. But what I can guarantee you is that every time you use this slur, you are signaling to disabled people that you are an unsafe person to be around. And in the context of disability rights being attacked and stripped, us normalizing the sacrifice of disabled people since 2019 and long before, you can't convince me that this kind of ableist rhetoric isn't connected. You are absolutely free to use the words you want, but you aren't free of the consequences of using them. And disrespectfully, if you aren't able to give up a single slur for disabled advocacy, don't act like you care about disabled people.
Yeah, I do agree with her. They, them, her. See, I don't know her pronouns. I don't know their pronouns. But I do agree. NB, they, them. Autistic NB, they, them. Okay, I do agree with them. And I think that his original statement, double checking, I think he is a he, him. I believe so. Whoa, almost 1 million followers. Damn, bro. Okay, I do think he's wrong. And I think he's wrong for a lot of reasons. I also think this is the dilemma of it. We'll watch other videos, but I think what the dilemma is for me is it's a bubbled problem. So somebody in the chat said the R word was a slur in the 90s. Amazing. That's amazing. Like, that is so important to recognize. Like, I did grow up in the bubble that was like, oh yeah, you would never call like a person with X disability, like a visual disability, the R word, right? That's fucked up, right? The same people who use the R word would beat you up if you used the R word at a disabled person. Okay, that's the bubble I grew up in. So they almost feel like they're using it towards people who aren't the R word. So obviously it's different, but the insult still comes at the expense of the disabled person, right? So it is kind of interesting, but yeah, it never left the internet, the side of the internet I'm on. Like, I've even had to reach out to male creators and say like, hey, I know you're a liberal and everything, and I know I'm a leftist, so we're kind of different, but you're using this word and it's on your thumbnails and it's in your titles and it's like very much a slur. And I think the future is going to make it a slur. And you know, I don't know where you're at in your journey, but you might want to consider reframing, you know, you putting a slur like straight up in the title thumbnail. And they understood it. And they were like, yeah, honestly, I agree with you. And I was like, dope. And that's cool. That's cool to see. And I even told them like, hey, just like as somebody who used to say it all the time on stream, I totally get that this feels like I'm asking you to stop saying a word that feels so normal to you. But, you know, if you want to consider it. And they did. Now, I think a big part of it is that we trust each other and we have really good faith with each other. So it allows me to maybe slide into DMs and say like, hey, you know what I mean? And I think that helps. And I think that plays into everything we're going to talk about today, really, is how do we communicate with the right kinds of people to hear it? Because even when my audience first told me to stop saying it, I was like, nah, no, no. And then I was like, hold on, I'll think about it. And then I talked to my partner about it, and my partner doesn't say it. And my partner was like, well, I don't know why you say it. And I was like, don't lecture me. And then we talked about it. And then I was like, fine. Okay, you're right. Whatever. You're all right. Okay, you're all right. And then I just didn't say it. And that's it. Okay? Like, and that's it. Like, it took a second. But I think that ultimately there are better words. Now, one of my friends and I did discuss calling people stupid. And even one of my friends and I were going back and forth on this because, man, I love to call people stupid. But it's like, how are you so stupid? Because, like, I don't know what other word to use. But even that word, I'm like, should I stop calling people stupid? Listen, one day I'll be grown enough not to be like, you're so fucking dumb. And then I'll come up with a new way to say, I really think after much consideration, the view you have is reductive and out of place for the modern day. And I think that you deserve to update your language. So the problem is every word has a possible context of bigotry. So I have to be careful. Like Chad says unintelligent. Well, that's the one of it where I know in my bubble, you can't call people of color unintelligent or any word that implies they're not as smart, because it is a racial dog whistle. So I have to be very careful about the words that I use because I don't want to signal a racial dog whistle. And so that's it. I'm okay with this. By the way, I know this stresses people out, but I actually am interested, and it does stress me out sometimes. I agree. But I want to this is my special interest, is learning how to talk to people. So I'll figure it out. You know what I mean? Chet says, do you call people stupid to their faces? Only people I love. Only if I love them. Like if it's my brother, I'm like, bro, with peace and love, you're being pretty fucking stupid right now. And he'll be like, fuck, no, I'm not. You're stupid. I was like, am I stupid or am I right? And that's why you're mad. And he's like, whatever, bro. And like, okay, so only if I love them. But never, I wouldn't talk to him like a Matt Dillahunty, and we wouldn't be in a conversation where I'd call him stupid to his face. But then people think you're kind of fake, because remember that YouTuber that I went really hard on him and then we did a collab and like I was really soft with him and he's like, what the fuck? And I was like, well, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to act this way to your face, bruh. Like I'm talking to my stream. When I'm talking to my stream, it's a completely different bubble. It's like, you know what I'm saying? So I try to match the room and I try to communicate. I'm getting better at it though. I'm not always perfect, and that's the thing. But I know there's definitely going to be a better way to communicate it, right? Which we see in everything. We see with vegan activism, which we're going to talk about today. Like how many of us are tired of vegans trying to make the argument for veganism by using black people as the subject matter? Can we please fucking separate these thoughts? And like, it's the whole context of it. But the problem is our brain, it like goes to the first thing that we think would be the most impactful, but it's not. It actually makes people stop listening. Like, don't compare black people to animals in any context. Thank you, moving on. And it's like, they keep doing it. It's pissing everybody off. But that's the thing, is like, I think words matter, and words only matter within context. So we have to like figure that out. Now, okay, let's watch. First of all, let me look at the comments and then we'll go back to TikToks. Chess says, I really appreciate you stopped saying it genuinely. Yeah, and I appreciate that my audience was so patient through the process, the transition process. And I do not take for granted that there is one. And I also think that that's why I will always appreciate the pushback, because I'm like, you seeing something I'm not seeing? But I also have a trust in my audience. I had this realization that I wonder if YouTubers build audiences they don't trust. Like, I always wondered why a TikToker would get so much feedback and not change in any capacity even 10 years later. And I wonder if it's because I built this community to be a mirror, okay, for each other. My second channel, my Burt commentary channel, it's not a mirror, because I got 100,000 views on my last video, girls. 100,000 views. That would be crazy if I was getting those views here. That obviously isn't my community. I think like 83% of people who don't watch me found that video about Tyler. So I can't listen to that feedback because they don't know me, right? They don't know the bubble. They don't even know who I am. They can't even start to fathom. Okay. People here though, we work every day to understand each other. Every day we're like sitting here at Discord, me, you here, so there's like some safe high trust. So if you come to me and say, Britt, I don't think you should say that, I am more open because I trust you more than maybe some random user that just came across me for the first time and doesn't understand the context. Like yesterday, we talked about how gossip saves lives from abuse victims. And there was a person in chat getting very angry about the word gossip because in their bubble, that's seen as a negative to talk about women. Exactly. And I'm saying gossip is empowering, because gossiping, as long as it's not slandering, allows women to speak to one another and say, do you know about this person? Do you know about this person? Which then allows them to be safe. And that's the problem, is like when one person hears me talk and they don't know me, they're gonna I'm defensive, and now I don't want to change. So it's a relationship. Ironically enough, like We're in a relationship, okay? Jet said, let me see. It's weird to use a word that refers to one group at people in another group as an insult and act like it isn't also insulting the former. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a mind game people play for sure to justify it, you know. Jess says, I will say, are you dumb or stupid, but I shouldn't. I can't figure out, like, I will figure out. I will work on like what we think might be a better communication tool. I think the dilemma is like, okay, yesterday on stream, I asked, how can Matt Dillahunty be so smart and so stupid? Okay, so how can Matt Dillahunty be so smart and so... But it's almost a rhetorical question because we know why. He's a human. Boo. You know what I mean? So then it's not even that interesting. Yeah, dumb equals lacking in curiosity. So maybe we can just say, how are you so smart and lacking in curiosity? That's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. And it kind of hits home. I think that's better, actually. Good job, chat. Yeah, I think that says a lot. That feels like guttural too. Doesn't that feel like, oh, I'm lacking in curiosity? Like, ooh, yeah, I like that. You said that's been your personal language change. Yeah, I like that. Chet says they use the slurs as a reclaiming, just like other slurs. Let people choose how they want to use a slur that's historically would have been used against them. Yeah, we had this conversation when the Dream community came into my chat and asked me if Dream can say the R word because he's autistic. And I said, it depends on why he's using it and how he's reclaiming it and if he even has the right to reclaim it. I don't know. Like, I, as an autistic person, don't think the R word applies to me. But maybe that's my internalized ableism. But I don't think it applies to me because I don't think autistic people are necessarily R word. Like, you know what I'm saying? Is that not accurate to say? You know what I mean? I don't know. There's something there though. But like, I don't identify with the word. I don't feel like it's a part of my identity. The queer or some of the gay words, sure. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't think that word applies to me personally. I just don't feel any connection to it spiritually. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know. Let's see. Chad says, well, for me, my family feels like autistic people are the R word. Yeah, which I do think that's true, that people like RFK Jr. sees autistic people as R words, which is why he's trying to cure autism, because they see the disability and they think, let's cure that. And that's the problem with the R word is like, I think the dilemma is like, what does the R word even mean? I'm sure some autistic people consider themselves or identify with the word, right? Just like the example I just gave. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, obviously the word has been used against autistic people. I agree, chat. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's maybe the difference is like, I don't identify with the word personally, so I'm not going to fight you on it. Like, oh, I want to say it. It's my word. I'm not going to do that. For Brittany. But I could see why other people would. You know? Yeah, Chet says, why would we use the slur on ourselves when it comes from oppression? Well, that's what a reclaiming a slur is. It's kind of like taking back your power. It's kind of like why women did the slut walk. Like, oh, you're going to call me a slut? Well, I'm going to take it back and empower myself. It's just reclaiming words. That's all it is. Like, it's very common. People have put it into practice for many years. It's pretty normal. You know, Chad says, as a teacher, the R word has been making a comeback, but I'm more annoyed at the kids using autistic and artistic as a replacement for the R word. Oh, yeah. Well, I heard, you know, a lot of streamers did that. A lot of leftist streamers were like, they stopped saying the R word, but then they'd replace it with like autistic or even me. How would I say autistic back in the day? And then I stopped saying it because I realized it was a signal for the centristy libs. Autistic? What did I used to say? And I stopped saying it. Acoustic. What was the other one? Autistic? No, it wasn't just acoustic. It was something else. It was like, are you an autist? I've tried to get rid of that one. Are you an autist? Versus are you autistic? Because autist is it's a dog whistle, or it's mostly used by people who are using it as an insult. Autist. So I stopped doing that. And I was like, even though I like it, autist, but like okay. So then I'm like autistic, and it's like the full, you know. So yeah. Anyways, okay, let's watch a video.
I understood that etymology nerd video that he posted about the normalization of the use of the R word. The message I took from that was that not only should we not be using the R word, but we should also not be using all of these other ableist words that have that are embedded in a history of oppression, right? Like, and that's why I personally, for years now, avoid using words like idiot, words like moron. I use moron as the example because that's what he, etymology nerd, actually specified, idiot and moron. But that would apply to stupid. That applies to sanest language, like crazy, for instance. Like, all these words are words that disabled people have been flagging as problematic, and we should use substitutions, and it's very easy to do so. I can testify as someone who's been doing this for years now. But the problem with that video, and I know that this is why, part of the reason why disabled people are upset with that video, disabled people who specifically have been, have had the R slur and other ableist words weaponized against them, I understand their criticisms because, one, I don't have the lived experience they do, so I'm always going to ascribe validity to those criticisms. But two, even if etymology nerd was trying to actually reaffirm the point that disabled people have been making for forever, he didn't do it right. The delivery, why did he put that part at the end of the video? Because the reality is people are trying to normalize this word. He said that himself. So to put that on the internet in an environment where you know people are going to take this and run with it, saying the message is, well, it is what it is, the R word is being normalized, that is very sloppy, dare I say nasty work. And that video has gotten so many likes. It seems to be one of his best performing videos over the last few that he's posted. And I know that everyone who watched that video definitely did not take away from, oh, maybe I should stop saying idiot. Maybe I should stop using that word, right? So yeah, the delivery was wrong. I think the message actually could have been there. But if you are someone, you know, I'm moots with so many disabled people, a lot who have actually been subjected to being directly targeted by this like rhetorical violence. Like, let me know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I think the way he made his video almost sounded like he was approving, even though he said he wasn't. It sounded more or less like he gave up. He's like, it's coming back. What are we going to do? And I'm like, it's not. I mean, it is, but it never left. So like, you know what I mean? It never left. I don't like this like rewriting of history where it feels like it left. It left for some of you, but it didn't leave for most of us. Okay, like we're still fighting our family members. We're still talking to people in our families. We're still calling out our friends. Like we're still dealing with like, you know, I just showed you a white comedian making a lynching joke about a black man. It just feels like really strange for us to even think anything ended. Like our life is not linear. Words, cultural changes are not linear. Just because it changed for you did not mean it changed for anybody else. So, you know what I mean? Like that's why I say like a part of this is individual. It has to be. And a part of it is encouraging your community. And I'm so glad if you're in a community where things feel like they're over. But for some of us, like it's still an uphill battle, you know? Okay, so let's do this now.
I think we have to accept the fact that the R word is permanently coming back.
No.
Oh, that's what he said. We have to accept. Oops. Thank you for your contribution. Just as stupid and the R word are totally different camps in my brain. I'm open to deconstruct it, but are we really going to refer to it as the S word? Stupid is not a slur because it hasn't been co-opted as one. When people say, from my understanding, that the R word used to mean stupid, no, hold on. Everything is made up and we're making it up as we go. Pause. Everything is made up. Pause. Okay? Because everything is made up, we can do whatever we want. We could all take a vow of silence and no one for the rest of history will say a single word. So when you say something like, are we really going to start doing whatever? Girlie, we could all drink some Kool-Aid and mass suicide if you want. Okay, so let's instead reframe this idea of like why we're attached to the word and what it means and then come to a conclusion. So like, I know as a YouTuber, it would probably do better for my job and my communication skills to stop calling people stupid. Even though I think it's fine, I think it also makes people defensive. But also, some form of activism is to be extra triggering to people as a way to prove and to say, I'm not backing down. Interesting things to think about. We think about it with Kyle Kulinski calling what he believes are fascists slurs. He thinks it's okay to call people slurs because they're fascists. People have told me to stop tone policing. I was just on Do Not Worry podcast, and what was the complaint? Aren't you tone policing? Why are you tone policing when we're fighting fascism? Because the idea is you can fight fascism without using slurs. And some people are like, no, leftists need to use more slurs. The Nazis are winning because they can say slurs and we can't. And I'm like, I guess, but I don't think that's why the Nazis are winning. I just don't think that's why. So it's not about tone policing. It's about asking, like, what can we do better while acknowledging that it is exhausting to constantly update, right? So it's not a slur, but I do think the R word is basically agreed upon to be a slur. So then that allows us to have a different conversation about the use of the word. You know what I mean? I agree, Chad says, I think stupid can feel meaningful when you're pushing back against someone refusing to change for the better, but it would be more kind to not. It's like obviously it'd be more kind to not. And also notice that the reason we end up being put in this position too is because look at all the emotional labor, as an example, I have to do to make room for a man who's older and should know better because he's had more time to study. Instead, now it's on me, the younger person, to look at him and say, like, bro. And that's what gets frustrating. When you're talking to somebody you feel should know better, and so then you start being like, you know what, bro? Stupid. But then at the same time, maybe there's another way to say, hey, I'm honestly disappointed with somebody your age, somebody as well studied as you, not doing better. But then maybe that feels too soft to say to somebody like Sam Harris, who's pro-genocide, okay, because he's a genocide denier, which to me means he's pro-genocide. For him to say, oh, Israel's not committing a genocide, like, bro, how can you be so stupid? How can you be so stupid after everything that's happened, okay? After everything that's happened to this date, to recently say it's not a genocide, right? To disagree with other government bodies, it's not a genocide. Like, what are you talking about, okay? But maybe I should have said, Sam, given everything that's come out, it's deeply disappointing to see somebody of your caliber, which then is a compliment. So now I have to compliment him for being stupid about genocide, so then I can what? So then that's the problem. Do you want me to compliment the man? Because it's the only way to do it. In some ways, maybe I could say, Sam, because otherwise, why would I be disappointed? Did I think better of Sam and that's why he's stupid? Or is he stupid because I didn't think better of him? Then why am I mad a stupid person did something stupid? Do you know what I'm saying? So then that's the question is like, what am I doing? What am I trying to communicate? You're wrong. Ooh, that's a good one. You're wrong. I'm just going to start saying that. Maybe that's it. You're wrong. Thank you for your contribution. You're wrong. Is that it? So I think that's the problem why people get so like, what am I supposed to do now? Okay, next video. And then I'll go to chat.
I think we have to accept the fact that the R word is permanently coming.
No, we don't. We don't have to accept shit like that, and I'm tired of this notion. I don't care which pseudo-intellectual white guy fast-talking at a camera at you told you that you were supposed to accept whatever persecution to whichever marginalization it is. That's not fucking true. I hate these videos where they frame themselves as an intellectual and then say some weirdly obvious shit like Americans or humans are inherently immoral. That's not fucking true. The average person doesn't want to call people a fucking slur. The average person isn't walking outside going, where's a disabled person for me to say this to? No. That's not fucking happening. So please stop framing it as this inevitability. You guys do.
I do think it's true that there is an intersection. He said the average person is not saying the R word. I don't know what that means. Like, that's a very big assumption. I would say boys and men, okay, who are between the ages of 6 and 48, who also belong to gym, okay, comedy bubbles, who are right wing, okay, who play video games. Okay. I think a lot of them definitely are doing it. Okay. Who else? Yeah, I think like that's a pretty big part of the population, you know? So video game people, gym people, right-wing people, comedy people, even liberals. I would say libs. Okay, I would say libs are definitely doing it. I would definitely say libs are. I mean, Kyle Kalinske is supposed to be a leftist, but he also uses it at people on Twitter. He tweets it at people. So, right, like, yes, I agree that maybe the person you meet at the supermarket's not going to say it, but that's kind of the point. They're saying it in schools. They're saying it online. They're saying it in social spaces. They're saying it in malls. If you're listening to people's conversations, they are absolutely saying it, right? If you're listening to people's conversations, you will listen to what people are saying. You know what I mean? So you will hear it. Do I think intellectual, soft-spoken, people who typically aren't trying to get attention are saying it? Probably not. Yeah, like probably more extroverted people are saying slurs. I feel like slurs are for extroverts in a sense. I'm being a little hyperbolic or a little exaggeratory because obviously I'm an introvert technically, but you know, I've said the word. So, but yeah, like it's weird for us to say bullying is up and it's getting worse and also it's not happening. Well, okay, so you know what I mean?
This all the time, and it's always white guys. It is always white guys talking about something that has nothing to fucking do with them. Like, it's always white guys telling black people that you need to be okay with this. It's always white men telling women that you need to be okay with this. And now we have this fucking guy telling us that this is where society is going because he studies language and blah, 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 blah. And
yeah, he just made a bad video. Because even if that wasn't his intention, because I know him to be more of a left person, I feel like the video was really badly done. Okay, which goes back to what I was saying earlier on stream. How do you get 900,000 viewers on TikTok and put out shitty content like this? Like, you know better. Why did you make this video? Why'd you cut it off there? You could have just added 30 seconds at the beginning and end to say, I don't agree with this, but I'm afraid it's happening. And then all the leftists would have been like, yeah, we're worried about this too. He should have said, we need to accept it's happening. We need to do something about it. Because if we stay in denial that it's happening, we're not going to be able to do anything about it. We need to act. But he didn't do that. So he put out a really poorly made video that just like fucking confused everybody, right?
can't somehow fucking make the connection that if Gen Alpha is using the word, then that means that millennials never stopped using the words. So I don't understand what this revival is. But anyway.
Exactly.
I digress. No, that's just not true. That's just what fucking nihilistic white guys love to fucking wax poetic about and like, you know, on Reddit usually.
Wait, what's
but
not
most
true?
people aren't that fucking shitty. Most people don't fucking want to say the word. I
don't know, bro. If most people are white and white men are having a resurgence and they're extremely lonely and they're the hardest part of the population, then I would say that most people are saying it. That's a pretty large demographic of white people saying it. Not to mention women who are white who are saying it. So I'm a little confused. Maybe Chat says he's tired about more than just this, I think. Yeah, probably, honestly. He makes a lot of activist content. So I do watch his TikToks on occasion. Okay, let's try somebody else. Have you guys ever seen this video?
I mean, it's been kind of eye-opening. I've just sort of randomly here and there picked up episodes of, you know, old shows that I hadn't watched in a long time from like the early 2000s, and just the casual the casual sort of gay humor, casual use of the hard R.
Oh, really?
It's jarring. Yeah, it's jarring now. And for
Casual use of hard R.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like okay, it was an episode of American Dad. And it was just
Really?
like, yeah, it wasn't for shock value. It was just like used.
Whoa.
Right? Well, I mean, here's the thing, right? That was in like 2003 or something, like 2002.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna deny that I dropped my fair share of hard R's back then because we didn't even the term hard R didn't even exist. didn't think about it, right? And it's funny because to me, that doesn't feel like that long ago, but to my kids...
Are you talking like N-word hard R?
What? No.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that's how people use that term.
No.
I think
That's
so.
the N-word. What are you guys talking about? Am I mistaken?
I think so.
No, the one with the for mental disability.
I'm pretty sure people use hard R in a very different way than you just used it.
Oh. Okay, either
Hard
way.
R means ending
I understand.
the N-word
I
with
understand.
a hard R.
I understand what you mean. No, I'm not talking about that. Okay, cool. So I'm glad that
brother. I remember that was going viral. Everyone was like, "What did you say?" Honestly, whee. Okay.
Y'all ever notice that people who want to hold on to the R word the most fit it the best?
What?
You ever notice that?
What?
I really think that word should be reserved for those people.
Uh-oh.
Because I never use that word on people who actually have mental disabilities.
No.
And
This is the use it against people who aren't actually, because this is the bubble. See, I know men like this who are like, oh, I'm not going to call a real disability person. I'm going to call, see?
never will. Ever. It's completely unnecessary. But the maggots, the white supremacists,
Maggots? Is that a replacement for F word?
the racists who actually believe that they're better than other people but don't know anything, literally anything. They don't read. They just know what their white supremacist ancestors have told them, and their ancestors didn't read because their ancestors also fit that word.
Oh, maggots, like MAGA. It's got it.
These products of incest.
I only know maggots, like,
I have never met someone who vehemently wants to hold on to the R word who didn't fit the word. Never. I've never met a person.
Ooh, I don't like his
I
energy,
think-
bro. I don't really love his energy. I don't really love it. No, I don't like his energy. I think he's wrong. No, see, if he said the R word, I don't like it. I don't like the energy. Yeah, no.
The fact that the R word is permanently coming back, and it's functionally changed meanings to no longer directly refer to disabled
It's because it's a common thing for people.
Okay, hold on. Before we see the rebuttal, Rise Again, Super Chat. Thank you so much. Says only call straight people the F slur, brah. Stop. Yeah, stop.
To say doesn't mean that it's
That's
okay.
funny.
His whole argument is that being casually ableist is okay as long as you're not using like the official medical terminology for.
Well, I don't think that was his
no longer
point.
directly refer to
Hold on.
disabled
It's because it's a common thing for people to say doesn't mean that it's okay. His whole argument is that being casually ableist is okay as long as you're not using like the.
Well, will we watch it? We'll watch it again to make sure, because now I'm curious. Like, was that his point?
Official medical
have
terminology
been.
for disabled people. It's still ableist to call somebody an idiot or a moron or stupid or dumb or lame or whatever. His argument is like, well, like people don't know that like idiot or moron used to be like official medical terms. Like we all know what they mean. Like when you watch Forrest Gump and little Jenny says, "Are you stupid or something?" We all know what she fucking means.
Okay, but how many young people have watched Forrest Gump? To be fair, I haven't watched that movie in like 15 years.
We often say something is lame to mean that it's uncool, but we still know what the word lame means. When somebody says that Congress is in a lame duck session, we understand what the fucking metaphor is. Casual ableism is a normal part of the English language. That doesn't mean that it's okay, like value-wise. Once upon a time, the N-word was normal. In The Great Gatsby, they just casually dropped the K-word. Like, that doesn't mean that it's okay. Here's like a pretty good litmus test, I think. Like, would you actually say this to a person with this disability? Would you call a mentally disabled person an idiot or a moron, like, to their face when they mess up? You shouldn't. And if you wouldn't say it to someone who is mentally disabled, you shouldn't say it to someone who isn't either. If you said to, like, your blind friend that they turned a blind eye to something when they were, like, ignoring it, like, that would be offensive to say, so you shouldn't say it to someone who isn't blind.
The fact that the R word is permanently coming back, and it's functionally
Okay,
changed meanings
let's watch
to
the
no
original again. I'm curious. Hello. Oh wait.
Except the fact that the R word is permanently coming back, and I think we have to accept the fact that the R word is permanently coming back, and it's functionally changed meanings to no longer directly refer to disabled people. I mean, if you think about the words idiot, imbecile, and moron, those used to be genuine medical classifications from the 1910s until the 1960s when they started to feel offensive. Then doctors switched to the R word, which also functioned as a real medical classification for about 50 years until it became too insulting, and we again had to replace it because it simply didn't serve the same scientific purpose anymore. This entire cycle is called the euphemism treadmill, and the idea is that words around sensitive topics will always grow more negative over time, making us come up with new words that will then also get negative. On the flip side, however, once we sufficiently distance a word from its historical usage, it stops taking on the same offensive power and just becomes colloquial instead. Like, very few people really use the words idiot or imbecile to overtly mock an intellectual disability anymore, and in the same way, the R word is slowly just shifting into something people say with their friends. That doesn't mean it's a good thing or that you should say the word. In fact, I think it's counterproductive to even call people idiots and morons. However, it is undeniably true that the people who are afraid to say the R word right now are going to get old and die out, while younger generations keep saying it with no knowledge of where it came from. The real problem is why the euphemism treadmill exists in the first place, because unless we communicate with kindness and intentionality, we'll always keep making new words offensive. I think we have to accept the fact that the R word...
Okay, I see the dilemma with his video. It just needed 30 more seconds to explain why he made the video, because I don't understand. Is he making a prescription, a call out, a reminder? I think it's just confusing about why you made the video. Right? Like, why did you make the video? Why did you make the video? Why'd you make the video? Why did he make the video? Yeah, I think it's a badly made video. And I think he could have a really good point here about getting ready and preparing. I also disagree that those of us who are sensitive about it will die out and younger people won't know any better, because it's not, I don't think those young people exist yet. There's no replacement for the R word yet, right? Is there another word we're using like that is generally replacing things? Like, I don't think we're there yet. Like, I think it's not even Gen Alpha. It's going to be Gen Beta, probably. Maybe Gen, whatever's after Gen Beta. I think maybe they won't have much of a connection, but I just don't think we're there yet. I think he's way too ahead of his time. It doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Chad said young people were using brain dead. What happened? Well, those are all, a lot of these words also came out of Reddit. I feel like a lot of these ableist words directly came out of Reddit to be edgy as well. And it became amplified, like brain dead, schizo. Hold on. What's the one? What's the one that even I catch myself going, uh-oh, I listen to Gamer Boys too much. Fuck. What's the word? There's a word that they use that's kind of like brain dead. Oh, I can't think of it. See, this because it's not part of my vocabulary, I think. But I try smooth brained. No. Oh my god, brain rot. Oh, brain rot. No, there's another one. Is it a D word? Is it a D word? Maybe. It's the one that people get banned for on Twitch. Like I don't think you can say it on Twitch. You know what? Fuck it. You know, but there's a word. Okay, it's there. Let's see. I just want to make sure I cover. Let's see. I saw a comment. Let me see. Let me see. Hold on. I saw my name. I saw my name, and I want to make sure. It says, but Brittany calls both R word and bitch slurs. Hold on. We don't use the R word here. And then bitch slurs, I'm a woman. So if I use the word bitch, and the only reason I had to ban it, I loosely banned it, by the way. I only loosely banned it was because too many men were coming into my chat when I would cover red pill stuff and just be like, bitch, 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 bitch. And I was like, okay, hello. And like some people would be using it as an insult, like you dumb bitch. And I'm like, okay, hold up, guys, wait. So when I use the word bitch, yes, it's a part of my vocabulary. And when certain people use it, I go, oh, okay. Like any other word that, you know, we're using, you know. So I just want to make sure. You said, I know I was okay, no, I know I was making a separate point, not criticizing your use of bitch. Okay. Yeah, degenerate. Inbred's another one. I don't think you should say that. It annoys me that Hassan uses so much ableist language, like so much inappropriate language, that he's a part of that leftist bubble as well, where like they're not really, you guys can't keep saying the same words but using different words. Do you know what I'm saying? Like even this last guy who said like, oh, all these incest babies, da da da. You know, you need to chill out on the incest baby insult as well. Because that's really fucked up. Like, there are whole populations on the planet that are suffering from the way that their ancestors and family members congregated together to create and bring people into existence. Like, again, you're using shaming tactics. And though I understand why it's funny, or I understand why, you know, you're saying these, I get it. But also like, damn, bro, like we can't even talk about things without people getting so fucking weird around it, or like assuming, oh, it says everything about your whole life. And now it's a competition for like, who made you? What were your parents' genetics? And now you're just moving into fucking, now you're just, you know, my eugenics, right? Now you're just moving into eugenics. Like, oh, the perfect, like, oh, DNA, like, oh, genetics, like, oh my God, like it's too much. I'm not saying degen is bad, by the way. Chat says, what's wrong with degenerate? I'm not saying degenerate is bad. I was talking out loud, like, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think it's degen. I think it's, is it inbred? Is that the word? There was like a word that they used. Oh, when you know, if it ever comes to mind, we can talk about it. But yeah, like I think, again, yeah, no. Chat says, do you mean like synonyms? Like don't use words that are slur adjacent to replace the slur. Like don't stop saying the R word on stream and then call people autistic instead. You know? And so when I ask people, because, you know, when I ask people like, oh, are you autistic? I mean, literally, are you autistic? Because I'm trying to say, should I change the way that I'm talking so you understand me better? Because autistic people, we tend to communicate differently, right? But when other men, when streamers stream, they go, oh, what are you, autistic? What are you, fucking autistic, bro? Are you an autist, bro? Like, it's literally, it's a replacement to say, oh, I don't say the slur anymore, but I'm asking if you're autistic. You ride the short bus, bro? You know, I don't know. Although, also, guys, I love that you're helping me trying to remember this word. And now my whole chat is just a bunch of fucking. Oh my God. This is going to look really weird on the rewatch. You know what I mean? The whole chat is just like. I appreciate you trying to help me figure out the word. It's okay. It's funny. It's funny. Okay. Anyways, with all this said, I hope this creator takes a few days off to consider what he created and maybe come up with a better way to communicate it, because I think there was a lot of potential here. This isn't the take is the 2,000 likes on his video. Terrible take. He's describing what's happening, not his opinion. Well, and I also think this is going to play into the work that I do. I do agree with that as well. The problem is I think he used the word I think he said, I think we need to accept, which then implies it's his opinion. This will come up for my stream today. I will be making vegan arguments. Remember that I'm not a vegan, so I'm not making, you know, I'm very in the vegan bubble right now. I'm trying to figure it out. And sometimes on stream, when I ask questions, I'm not advocating for my own opinion. I'm just asking us to explore the concept. This is a philosophy channel, right? So with that said, let's close this chapter on exploring words and just remember that words mean things and words mean nothing. They're constructs. They're agreed upon meanings. And, you know, learning to use words correctly, it's trial and error. And, you know, just to relate it to the fact that, like, you know, even yesterday I was learning, I was doing my Croatian lesson, and it was like differences of words for, like, thank you very much. And like, how a different word can mean beautiful or it can mean much, and how it can mean the same thing. And if you use this word here or this word with this person, it's offensive, or, oh, you're speaking very formal. I tried to say something to my father-in-law as a thank you, and it was like insulting because I didn't use the proper elder word. I don't remember. He's an elder and I didn't use the elder speak. So I actually ended up like more insulting than a proper thank you. So like, it's a trial and error thing, but if people know you're learning, it's different than people who say like, oh, you like, and he was not offended. Okay. It wasn't like my partner explained that like, oh, you technically were like, that's technically not what you say there. And I was like, fuck. But like, okay. So like, you know, again, with this whole conversation, if we are open to teaching and if we're open to exploring, then it becomes about communicating what you really intend. So, okay, that's how I want to wrap this up. What do you really intend to say? And do you feel like you conveyed it? Because, you know, I look at my work like that too, where I want to convey to you more than I want to convey to the person I'm reviewing. So I keep that in mind. And then sometimes if I make a video thinking this person might see it, maybe I'll switch up my language to say I want to convey to the person I'm reviewing, and my audience, I trust that they'll follow me. But most of the time when I make content, I'm trying to communicate to you my yes beliefs and yes how my brain works, and especially what I think is right or wrong. Okay, without making a prescription, right?